But the one strategy that nobody has, it's actually less than 1% is the math on that, is a word of mouth strategy. And we just take it for granted. And it's a shame because the best way to grow any business is for the customers to do that growing for you.
This week on the Courageous Podcast, we had Baer with us. Awesome guy. He's a Hall of Fame speaker, seventh generation entrepreneur, and he's written 6 books, just a marketing genius, a strategist, and shares a really interesting story with us about how he got started.
Yeah, and what it took for him to actually become an entrepreneur. And it was cool to hear that his son, it's now 8th generation. So if you ever have it, like you have that idea and you're wondering if you should do it, this is the show you should probably take a listen to.
Today on the Courageous Podcast, we have Baer joining us. Jay has over 27 years of marketing and customer experience. I'm reading this right off your site, by the way, Jay. You've worked with more than 700 companies, including 36 of the Fortune 500. You're a keynote speaker. You are the founder of Convince and Convert, and you've worked with Berman and I on several occasions. I'm actually working with you right now. So welcome, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your patronage. I'm sorry my name isn't Ryan, but I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, if you want, you can do the old Thompson versus Berman thing, no problem.
Yeah,
or just say Ryan.
Yeah, I just say Ryan, and whoever answers. It makes for a more interesting show.
That's right. Yeah, it confuses us. So luckily we have the chat going on the side.
No doubt. How are you guys?
We're great.
How about you? How you holding up with everything?
It's good, but it's just so freaky. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of traveling, right? And I have for a long time. So the most number of days in a row that I have been home since 2003, that number is 22. 22 days in a row was my biggest stretch at home in 17 years. So as we record this show, I'm currently at 76 days. So it is really, really weird to not be going to the airport. I miss my friends at TSA. I hope they're okay. But it's actually kind of cool in a way. Like it's to have a more consistent routine and see my family more and actually be able to work with clients more, like Thompson and others, is actually been really great. I'm not sure my team would be able to say the same thing, but I'm liking actually kind of doing more client work because I can now. I'm not on a plane all the time.
I'm in the same camp as you. We've been crossing planes across the country for years now, right? But I wonder if I feel like every month should be a quarantine year in marriage. Like you should add an extra year to your marriage. Because I've seen
we've been married
family
30 years. I always joke we've been married for 30 years, and I tell people it's really only 15 because I'm gone half the year. And so yeah,
she caught up.
Yeah, I feel like we need a date night here pretty soon to just be like, okay, how are you feeling really? Because I know this is not easy for you, but we do have I have a house on a lake not too far from here. So I've been trying to escape a couple of days a week to the lake, which is sort of like escaping to a conference, and that's been great and a real godsend to have that opportunity. People who work on my team are in a 700 square foot apartment in Manhattan, right, and haven't been able to leave like literally for 3 months, and I'm like, oof. That's tough.
Do you feel like? I mean, because I'm with you, I used to say I do my best work on a plane, but now that I'm not on a plane, like stuck as a sardine, and I can't wait to see the new designs of planes, by the way, do you feel like you're having really good think time for where you want to take this for you?
Oh man, that's such a good question. Totally. I think I convinced myself that I did my best work on a plane because that was the only time I ever had time on task, right? Where I wasn't answering a ton of emails because usually at night. Or on the phone or doing Zoom calls or whatever. And so it was the best work to be done de facto, but not necessarily the actual best. It was just the best that I had available. Yeah, I would say my personal work over the last couple of months is as good as it's been in a really long time. And I would also say that the work that our team in total has put out over the last 2 or 3 months has been the best we've ever done in 12 years, which is incredibly gratifying to me as a leader, especially given that, a lot of our folks have young kids at home and they're trying to, deal with online school and all the other vagaries of a pandemic. I'm super proud of our team and it's gratifying.
Yeah, I will validate that. You guys are fantastic strategists and put together great work. So definitely check that out if you have the opportunity at Convince and Convert. But Jay, you're sitting in like a home office makeshift studio, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you are and how you set that up? Because you guys have been virtual for a while, right?
Forever from the jump, right? So Convince and Convert is a boutique collective of high-level strategists. We solve authority, marketing, and communication challenges, mostly in digital, for really iconic brands all over the world. And we've been remote since day one. We've got people all over the country on our team and some outside the US, actually. So this work from home thing is like, yeah, that's fine. I've been doing that for a long time. And even before then, I was work from home part-time when I had my previous firm. So I have been work from home at least 3 days a week for 18 years. So that's not weird for us at all. But the never leaving home part is definitely strange. And so I've done lots of webinars and Zooms and podcasts and things the whole time. And so I've always had a pretty good setup. But now what's changed, Thompson, is from a speaking standpoint, right? So there is not any live speaking, as Berman definitely knows. And I had a lot of gigs in March, April, May, June, July, who are gone, rescheduled for 2021 or never, or we'll do it as a puppet show or whatever. And so I have had to, as many speakers have, invest in sort of a next level of virtual studio environment. So I've had to buy 2 new cameras and switchers and converter boxes and cables and a second light rig and a lot of other things, and then do some additional soundproofing to this home office, just to be able to deliver a really, really first class performance when big conferences are saying, hey, we want you to keynote this thing, and everybody's dialing in. You just don't want to say, all right, let's do it like a Zoom with a slide and a little postage stamp, picture on the top.
I mean, that's the great thing about today is anyone can start a business. You have a ton of resources. You have the internet to research. You have capabilities to interact with people virtually, and you've been doing it for a long, long time. I'm curious just how this all started for you, and what was the itch that made you go out on your own, be an entrepreneur. And you definitely have to, have some courage, be creative, pivot when the business needs it. So how did it all start?
I don't know if you know this story, actually. I don't know if I've ever told you this, or Berman for that matter. So I am a 7th generation entrepreneur. My son is an 8th generation entrepreneur. He has his own fashion label.
No pressure.
Started in high school. I mean, yes and no, right? So never, ever, ever in my life can I remember a time that my dad, who passed away last year, I can't ever remember a time where he said to me, you have to do your own thing. Like that, I don't think I ever had that conversation. It was just assumed, right? It was like oxygen. It was just in the air. So no conversation really had to be had. But I will tell you this, I wanted to start my own thing from the time I was about 22, 23. I did not actually start my own company until I was 30. And that gap haunts me to this day in some ways. And the reason I didn't do it is that I was really fortunate. I had a series of fairly important roles as a very young professional. So I was doing pretty heady work when I was, 19, 20, 23, whatever. And so they were paying me pretty well. And so I had a young daughter at the time and my wife, and I was like, man, I really want to start my own thing. I feel like that's what I should do. I mean, we've been doing it since the 1800s. But man, what if it doesn't work out? Like they're paying me already. Like why? I was just scared, right? Just scared. And so that fear kept me from doing what I wanted to do. And I knew the upside would be greater if I did my own thing, but I was like, the downside scares me more than the upside excites me. And then what happened was, and I'm sorry, this story's going to go a little bit, but my very best friend since 2nd grade. So he moved to Arizona from New York when we were 7 years old. His name was Al Parente. And Al was from Yonkers, and super obnoxious New York Yankees fan, as they all are. But despite that, we became best friends, inseparable. So much so that as we got older, he actually married my wife's sister. So my best friend became my brother-in-law, which I totally recommend. Like if you can socially engineer that, it makes Thanksgiving so much better. When I was 30, so I'd spent 8 years denying my own entrepreneurial itch because I was scared. He called me and said, "Hey, I just got back from the doctor and I have a brain tumor and it's pretty serious."
Man.
And I walked in the next day and I quit, and I haven't worked for anybody since. Because what I did that night after I got off the phone is I grabbed a piece of paper and I just wrote down the things that I was actually scared of. And when I put it on paper, I realized how silly it all was. Like, okay, I could start my own company. And if it doesn't work, I'll lose some money. And then I could the next day go get a job making pretty good money being somebody else's internet marketing expert. And so I realized that what was preventing me from taking action was the premise of fear, not the actual downside itself. And so we unfortunately lost Al a couple of years after that. But it had a huge impact on me. And I tell people about this all the time that, you know, if you're uncertain or you're scared, when you write it down, when you dimensionalize your fear, it's amazing how it takes the stuffing out of it in so many cases.
First of all, that's an amazing story, and thank you for sharing. I certainly didn't know that. And, you know, the idea of getting things out, I believe in like state it and create it, right? So like the state it and create it, even if it creates actually some version of fear. So, you know, you've written multiple books. Return on Courage is at this point the only book I've ever written.
You have to have the courage to write a second book. That's
Let's talk about fear, right? So, but the minute that I put it on Facebook that I was writing a book, the book got better. The book actually got better. Like so many people reached out to me about, you know, you got to interview this person, interview that person. Just to put a pin on that last story.
It's such a good book too, by the way. It's incredible. I love it.
Thanks, man. You know, I mean, the amount of people that I literally just recommended your book this week. I know we're not, this isn't a love fest for the sake, like that really happened. I actually was like, you got to go, you have to go read Utility, because I just think every brand on the planet needs to be a utility brand right now.
So it's amazing how much more relevant that book is today than it even was when it came out. It's like the whole world sort of, you know, spun around that principle because of the pandemic. It's been fascinating.
Well, to me, when I read that book, I was like, I want to know this guy. Like, I want to work with this guy. And I got to tell you, I want to be sensitive about COVID, because a lot of families are like genuinely impacted by this. But if some way that can be the trigger that you need, right, to go, why am I not doing this thing? Yeah. Let you use it for what it is, and just start. Like, just get out there and start taking action on whatever that idea might be.
Yeah, I agree. Although I'm also a little bit resistant to the premise that, hey, you got all this extra time because of pandemic, so what you should be doing right now is learning Greek and, you know, making yourself better. And this is the time to, you know, do all kinds of personal training and, you know, and learn how to make sourdough bread. It's like, bro, just let people grieve, right? The whole world has changed. Yeah. And you know, watching Netflix is not going to kill you, right? Like, I kind of reject the hustle culture a little bit in that regard. Yeah. Partially because I feel it's axiomatic. Like, to me, when you tell people to hustle, it's like you're just telling them to work hard. And it's like, if you need to be told that, no amount of quote unquote hustle advice is going to help you.
Yeah. And again, we're on the same page on this. I don't mean like aimlessly start something completely different, but if there's a little voice that could get you to go off the ledge and go try something, start your own company, maybe this is the time to do it. Now, maybe don't quit your other job right now during the pandemic.
Yeah, this might not be the best time.
Well, I think the thing is people have been forced to make some of those choices, right?
That's right.
So I don't know. The quiet time helps people just think and kind of rationalize what they're doing. Jay, I see talk triggers behind you.
Yeah, they're all back there somewhere.
They're all back there. Berman, you need a setup like this.
I love a setup. Yeah, I know. All I have is a 10 by 10 step and repeat that I hijacked my daughter's room, but that's another story for another time.
Anyways, talk trigger. I thought that was such an interesting concept. Can you just tell us a little bit about what got you to write that book? And I mean, you were out speaking quite a bit about this, but
Yeah.
Everything's digital right now. So I thought this concept was a complete shift, and it's going to come back in a ton of strength. So just interesting.
I think so too. Thank you. It's my most recent book is called Talk Triggers: The Complete Guide to Creating Customers with Word of Mouth. I wrote it with my good friend Daniel Lemon, and the premise is that we've got all these strategies in business. Right? I got marketing strategy, PR strategy, crisis strategy, recruiting strategy, sales strategy. But the one strategy that nobody has, it's actually less than 1% is the math on that, is a word of mouth strategy. And we just take it for granted. And it's a shame, because the best way to grow any business is for the customers to do that growing for you. You know, I've talked to thousands and thousands and thousands of business professionals about this over the last 3 years. And I've yet to find a single person in any industry who says word of mouth is unimportant to our success. But yet nobody has an actual strategy. And the mistake we all make, and I used to do it too before I started working on this project, is to say, well, if we just run a good business, people will notice that and talk about it. But that's not actually the way human beings behave. It's one of the greatest misconceptions in business history. Nobody talks about good, right? Nobody's going to tell a story about you doing exactly what they paid you to do. Nobody ever says, Berman, let me tell you about what happened last night. It was perfectly adequate. Like, that's not a good story, right? Nobody tells that story.
Tell me more, Jay.
Yeah, please. Pull up a chair. And so the premise of the book is that, and this is true offline and online, the premise of the book is that you have to do something operationally that is designed to create conversations. And that thing transcends the delivery of your core product and service, right? And so it's the difference between a restaurant that says, well, our food is going to be so good that will create word of mouth. It's a tough bar to clear, right? Because people expect good food from a restaurant. Your food better be crazy good for food quality to be your word of mouth generator. That's option one. Option two is like a restaurant called, I forget the name of it, in Lisbon that we talked about in the book, that gives you a can of sardines on the way out the door. Every time you always get a can of sardines. Yep. Because sardines is the national dish of Portugal. Like, every single restaurant has it. Like, you can't even imagine. It's more common than hamburgers in the US by an order of magnitude. It's crazy. But their chef is like, I refuse to have sardines on the menu because it's played out. I won't do it. And people kept asking, how come we don't have any sardines? So now, as a joke and as a talk trigger, every single customer gets sardines, right? And so if you look at their Google reviews, their TripAdvisor reviews, etc., everybody always talks about, yeah, the place is great, it's charming, food's good, but this sardines thing is amazing, right? And so they just made a choice, and that choice is not about their core business, but it is designed as a conversational handhold, if you will, for customers. And everybody should do that. I do it, right? I do it with the plaid suits. That's how I do it.
How do you, what are a few other examples? How do you measure this, right? Like, because I think people are like, oh, word of mouth, there's no way to measure it, but you've actually identified a whole bunch of ways to measure it. And there's a whole bunch of case examples of other brands that do this really well. I mean, social, obviously, but what else?
Yeah, we probably have 20, I think there's 23 case studies in the book, something like that. And it's, big companies, small, US, global. And we do that on purpose to try and have almost a bingo card of case studies so that everybody can see themselves somewhere in the book. From a measurement standpoint, we're actually working on a really cool Talk Triggers project right now for a national brand of arborists. So they come and take care of your trees and trim your trees and all that. That's a private equity backed national roll-up. And we're right in the process right now of launching their Talk Trigger. It's been really cool. And so in a case like that, the way you would measure it is a couple different pieces of it. First, you roll the talk trigger out, and then you look for unaided evidence of conversation, right? So does this thing show up in your own personal kind of customer sat reviews? Do you see it in social media chatter? Do you see sales reps hearing about it from customers when they're on the phone or via email? Do you see it in Google reviews? Do you see it in Yelp reviews? Okay. Then the second thing you want to do is actually a proactive test of talkability. And usually most companies will have some kind of NPS survey type of a deal, right, after purchase. And so what you want to do is add 3 questions to whatever that survey is. So typically you'd have a Net Promoter Score survey, scale of 0 to 9. How likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague? Great. Next question. By the way, have you told anybody about our company since you bought the thing from us? Yes, no. Next question. If yes, what did you tell them? Open-ended, right? So what you're looking for is an unaided mention of the talk trigger. Third question, did you happen to mention any of these things? And you give them a pick list of attributes: price, speed, guy was really kind, whatever. And one of the attributes on the pick list is the talk trigger. So then you can try for an aided awareness of the talk trigger and that they talked about it. So we kind of triangulate it that way. Now, the obvious question is, somebody mentioning it to somebody else doesn't equal revenue. And that's true. But that's the same argument that you would say, well, organic search doesn't create revenue either. And people certainly care about that. Sure. It is a way station to revenue. And if I said to you, hey, you can spend a lot less on advertising because your customers are going to advertise for you out of their own mouth hole, would you do that? Most people would say yes. And so that's what we're trying to do with the talk trigger.
Yeah, by the way, this is our next project together for sure. I think like this works for really like high end and like niche markets too, where it's like really hard to reach customers and they based on referrals.
It's the only way. I mean, we do a lot of work with Bentley, as you know, and that's, you know, that is so much part of the Bentley success equation, right? I mean, people aren't going to, if you have the money for a Bentley, you're not going to Google and search in Bentley dealer. Like that literally never happens. Like the search volume for Bentley is super high. The search volume for Bentley dealer is almost zero. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Because people just want to use a configurator and dick around and like look at Bentley photos because, you know, they're a 17-year-old boy who wants a Bentley poster, right? But they're not going to go buy a Bentley. If you can buy a Bentley, you know the Bentley dealer already, or you know a friend who has a Bentley, and it's like so word of mouth oriented. That's the whole game essentially.
Yeah, usually the client isn't the one like doing all the research and buying the Bentley, anyways.
Precisely. You say your assistant, get me a Bentley by Thursday. Yeah.
So, how many books have you written?
6.
Right, 6. Okay, so Berman's written 1.
I'm so far behind.
Took a lot. Took a lot of courage. Took a lot of courage to do that, right? And like I've listened to a whole bunch of podcasts from writers and how hard this process is. And so when you get an idea like this, how do you get yourself to get active and just get through the process? I mean, you've done it multiple times now.
So I have a secret.
How does that work for you?
Yeah, I have a secret. I do it the exact opposite of most people. So what typically happens, because I'm a speaker as well, right? So what typically happens is people will write a book and then they'll write a speech.
Yeah.
What I do is I write a speech.
Yeah.
And I go give that speech 50 times to 50 different audiences all around the world. And every time I use different stories and different examples and different sequencing, and I polish it and perfect it until that audience is enthralled. And then I take a recording of that last 50th speech and I transcribe it. And then I just make it longer and better and more examples, and that's the book.
This sounds like a stand-up comedy special almost.
Well, it's a process. Actually, I got to give Jay mad props because I don't know if you remember way back when you actually were like, here's how you write a book. Like you actually posted it online somewhere, and I'm pretty sure I couldn't find it.
I think it was for utility, yeah. It
was for utility. And I reached out, I was like, Jay, how do you do this? So I remember even if I didn't follow it to a T, it was like a point of confidence for me, getting that level of clarity on how to do it just by what you had shared. I'm like, oh, that's how you do it. It was super helpful. By the way, I am working on another book. Can I test it?
Please. I'm ready.
All right. So I don't really want to walk away from courage. So I don't think we're walking away from courage anytime soon. It has me. But what I've learned is like what's stopping people from being courageous is often this negative self-talk that's happening in our head. Mm-hmm. So the concept as I think it's going to be called the 2 U's. And it's this battle between negative you and positive you and trying to separate you from self-talk.
Nice. I like it.
Hard to do it if you can't spot it. So there's it'll be a whole process.
Yeah, sort of a configurator and kind of go through questions and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know yet if I'm going to go book or parable.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah.
I feel like I want it to be, I think it's an important enough topic that it feels like if I can make it a day read or a week read's probably a little bit more substantial. And like you, although I'm not doing the talk first, I'm writing the book with the keynote in mind.
Yeah.
right? So it's not like how you said you're perfecting it in the talk and then bringing it back.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite child, like a favorite book that you've written? Like, is there one that you feel?
Actually, no. I really don't. I like all three of the more recent. I mean, I like them all, but and they're all relevant for a lot of reasons. But one of the things I like, which is not very smart from a commercial standpoint, that I do is I don't try to stay in a lane, right? So you're like, courage has you, stay in courage, and I don't do that, right? So to be reductive about it. Now Revolution is about social business. Utility for real estate and utility for accounting are about content marketing. Hug Your Haters is about digital customer service. Talk Triggers is about word of mouth. And those are all lumped together in terms of how do you grow your business in a way that's perhaps more efficient than what your competitors have thought of, right? So it's almost business growth hacks through a marketing lens, but they are different topics for sure. And most people don't do that. Some do, but most don't. And I would probably be more successful as a speaker and an author if I was like, okay, I'm going to write 9 customer service books in a row, just in different guises, because then people know you for a thing. That's one of the challenges my agent has when pitching me as a speaker. They're like, well, is Jay a marketing guy or a customer experience guy? Like, yep. Right. Is he
Yeah.
right? And so it's a little hard from a positioning standpoint, but from an intellectual standpoint, I can't help it, because to kind of get back to Thompson's question for a second, what I do is I pay really close attention to what our clients are asking and the questions they ask us. And in fact, we have a process in the company where every Friday, every one of our strategists has to send me an email of 3 questions that a client asked that week. And the clients don't know that we're paying attention to it, but we write them down and they come to me, because what I'm looking to do then is sift and sort to find patterns. Yeah. And when I see a pattern that not only interests me enough to spend 3 years on it, but also something that I think, hey, you know what? A lot of people don't know the answer to this and it's not Googleable. Then I'm like, maybe there's a there. And then I'll try and do a keynote or a webinar about it, in something that's not going to break my career, almost like comedians do practice rooms or small sets, right? And then I kind of, if I like it, I start working into it, maybe it becomes a book. In fact, I have a new keynote called Coveted Customer Experience that I got to do exactly twice before the pandemic, and that was the tiny little seedling sapling of what could become a next book, but it's a little waylaid now, obviously. So we'll see.
I find it ironic that a guy that wears patterns all day is also looking for patterns.
Looking for patterns. Yeah, that is my talk trigger, though. If you hire me to give a speech, you get to go to dressjbaer.com. It's a real website that we built, dressjbaer.com. And the meeting planner gets to pick out what suit I wear on stage. And now they're doing it for virtuals too. So I'm doing a virtual thing next week. And the lady said, hey, even though it's virtual, do I still get to pick the suit? I'm like, hell yeah, you still get to pick the suit. Absolutely.
Do you have a button for pants on or pants off, since you can only see the top half?
I really should do that. That's a good idea. Like that's
what I'm here for, Jay. Little things.
Should I pay them? Would they have to pay me more or less to wear pants? I'm trying to figure out how I'd price that.
It's an A/B test. A/B test.
Yeah, it depends on the audience.
Yeah, right.
Have you actually done, because I'm going back to what are you? I mean, what you are is a creative business guy. I just think you're a great observationalist. And have you actually done a 6-pack? Have you positioned the 6 books together and sold them as a pack?
No, I never have.
If you can make me a better business person, and there's all these facets of the business, whether it's word of mouth or maybe there's something there.
Probably could. It's a good idea. Thanks.
All right, I'm done. I'm out of here, guys. Hey, this has been the Courageous Podcast.
Affiliate program. Yeah.
What does the world look like 90 days from now for you? You think? If you had to guess.
90 days. I think in 90 days it's largely the same. Maybe we're thinking about getting on a plane from a time, maybe a little bit, to do an event here or there, but I wouldn't put a wager on that. I think that's a maybe. We're still doing great work. I'm doing a lot of webinars and virtual keynote kind of thing, which is great. It's not a revenue replacement, certainly, for live speaking, but we're doing okay. And we've got a lot of interesting clients. 90 days from now, I hope My kids are back in school. I have 2 kids in college, are now at home. So I hope they're back in school at that point. We'll see. We have a lot of higher ed clients that Convince and Convert. So we're working with a lot of colleges and universities on their kind of re-entry messaging and marketing. And it's really fascinating because nobody really knows, right? It's a total crapshoot, right? So you're trying to basically like pin strap a moving car from a messaging standpoint, which is really, really difficult. So I don't think anything will be massively different in 90 days. And I got to tell you, one thing I've learned in this pandemic, I don't like to travel as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
And and I miss the money and I miss the applause, but that's all I miss. And if somebody said, "Hey Jay, here's the deal. You can do, it's going to cost you some money, but you can do 25 virtual events a year, or you can do 65 live events a year." 2 months ago, I would have laughed you out of the room at the absurdity of that question.
Yeah.
And now I would take the virtual 10 times out of 10. This has completely changed my thinking about what I want to do with the rest of my career. Completely.
Isn't that amazing? I think that's fascinating to me. I'm an extrovert, so I'm creating all these things to see faces, and then you hear terms like Zoom fatigue. I'm like, what are you talking about? I need more people, more
Zoom,
more small boxes. But and I do miss the interaction. Obviously, I miss probably the good meal in a good city. I do miss that.
Right. Yes. Miss all the local beers.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like you said at the top, like being able to be home and be with my family. And I used to think I want my son to live a courageous life, but I must then go live a courageous life, and they're going to connect the dots on that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, it's probably better for me to be around a little bit and spend some time with him and give a little attention and belief his way.
I just didn't realize how stressed out it was making me until I didn't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it, right? I mean, just the pace of being on the road that much and all the crazy late nights and early mornings and having to be on, like I'm on now all the time because I'm on Zoom constantly, but being on a recording and being on in a ballroom is not the same thing, for me at least.
Yeah.
It's a different level of intensity, and having to meet that level of intensity 200 days a year, I didn't realize how much it was taken out of me. And I'm getting older too. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I really am.
Yeah, let's stick there for a second because I think that's interesting. I mean, presenting digitally versus to a live audience. I think like a lot of people in business would want to improve their speaking skills and have the ability to get up and influence a large audience. And there's nothing like it when you get that immediate feedback. Just live is so different. And of course, the world's going to change. But you're a great public speaker. Berman also a great public speaker. Are there things that you guys both do? You still have to get some sort of anxiety or nerves, going up, depending on what the content is, how much you've practiced it, what the audience is. But I feel like a lot of people just have anxiety in just getting up in front of people and remembering what they want to say. Like, and you've been doing this a long time. Like, what are some of the things to get over that anxiety, fear, just to get out? I mean, practice, obviously, but what else? What else is there?
I mean, part of it is, and I don't get nervous anymore. The only time I get nervous is when I can't see the audience. So if it's a big enough room that their lights are in my face like that, and I can't see the front row, so I can't read reactions, that makes me nervous because I just don't really know what's happening in space. But other than that, I don't actually get nervous anymore, generally speaking. But I think the key is to say you're not quote unquote giving a speech. You're just talking to some people about what you know. It just happens to be in a room with a microphone, but stuff. Just tell people what you know. That's, it's when you think of it as knowledge transfer, not a performance. I think it becomes a lot easier for the non-professional to just kind of do their thing.
That's a good frame and lens to think about it. What
so
about
funny.
you?
Yeah, I completely agree with the prep work, but the way I've justified it in my head is the knowledge transfer doesn't happen if you don't entertain them.
For sure.
Right. So I'm laughing like a 1-act play by Ryan Berman, but in some ways it kind of is a little bit of that. And And I think when the motives are pure, like the lights in the face is a real thing because we're humans and I want to connect. I have a hard time with that too. Followed, and this is new for me, I'm sure for you too a little bit. The second creepy thing is when you have a joke on a virtual Zoom and everyone's muted.
Right.
You see them move, you see them laughing, but you don't hear it. You're like, did I miss? Was this a miss? No, wait, I don't think I missed.
It's
and like
funny.
the little nervousness, takes over.
Yeah,
but
that's a good one.
I feel like it's just when it's pure. Like I know that I'm trying to help people. I feel confident about the journey I went on to get my information, and like I miss that. Like I'm excited about continuing to do that, whether it's on the road or here. I got the chance to speak to BYU yesterday, an amazing creative school, ad school, and just like to inspire those kids that are not be afraid, basically, about what's next for them was cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I would also say, Thompson, that some of the best advice I ever got in the speaking business was 10 years ago when I first started doing it with any degree of regularity. And I'm a very unusual case in this professional speaking world in that I didn't give my first paid speech until I was 40. Which is super late. And so I went from never had given a paid speech to Hall of Fame in 8 years, which is really unusual.
That's awesome.
But one of the best pieces of advice I got when I very first started from Scott Stratton, who's a fantastic author, speaker, hilarious, a great thought leader in the space. And Scott told me, he's like, look, you know tons of stuff. It's like, stop trying to tell everybody everything you know in one talk. He's like, whatever you think you want to say in this speech, remove half of it. And now you've got the right amount of content, right? He's like, just people can't remember everything. You can't fire hose them. And that's what a lot of people do when they don't do this consistently. They're like, okay, I got to cover all this stuff. It's like, nope, give them 3 things to remember. And instead of making 6 points, make 3 points and make them twice. Instead of having one story about 6 points, so you got 6 different stories, have 3 points, 2 stories each, so it sinks in. So you still have 6 stories, but it's up 3 different topics. It's just sort of giving your ideas some oxygen. Not only is a much more comfortable way to present, but it's actually a much better way to transfer that knowledge. And I think it's less pressure for the speaker when you're not holding yourself to the standard of, I got to leave everything I know on the table, right? Like I got to tell them all of it. And it was really, really helpful. It changed my life, actually, that advice.
It's great feedback for me, honestly, because I feel like if I have an hour, I'm jamming a lot of stuff in versus, all right, what do they really need to hear? And let's breathe on this. So good feedback for me too.
I think it's just hard to simplify. It always is. I mean, it's the biggest challenge to cut the fat. Like, are you guys both always tinkering with your work too? I mean, do you ever stop, or you're like, okay, I can still improve this section? Is it ever done?
I've never given the same talk twice, and I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of talks. Now, you get to the point on a talk like Talk Triggers, which I've done well over 100 times, maybe 150 times. I've got that structure pretty well polished, right? But I change stories all the time because I find new stories all the time. Constantly find new stories. Just 2 days ago, I posted on Facebook, maybe you guys saw the meme of Jeep, the car manufacturer, sort of discovered that every single Jeep being made now has an Easter egg on the actual vehicle. So somewhere on the car is a little design. It might be a dinosaur or a bear or flip-flops or sunglasses, and it's hidden in the body of the vehicle. And it's a different icon. There's a set, and it's in a different place. It might be on the gas cap or the windshield wipers, whatever. And somebody totally found it, and all the other Jeep owners are finding them. It's become like this whole crazy word of mouth viral phenomenon, which is a genius talk trigger, by the way. And that's a brand new story. So that will go into the talk the next time I've done it because it's current and modern. It's a great example. And so that's super fun for me, is to every time out, not only change the stories based on the audience. Are they big? Are they small? Are they pharma? Are they restaurants? But also just new stuff that I discover. So from that perspective, it always is different. Once I kind of have the structure down, I don't mess with it too much. I tend to mess with the graphics more than the structure.
Same with you, Berman?
Yeah. I mean, some of it's selfish, honestly. It's like new stories are interesting. They're exciting. You want to, right? So you want to play off of the energy or the Jeep story. Like, I haven't heard that. Like, oh, I'd love to be the first one to bring that into a talk. It's just normal human nature, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. We've heard from some of our other guests too, like, besides the ping pong game going on in between your ears, right? This duality that every person is dealing with. The other thing I've heard, a constant theme, is just this thirst for knowledge, thirst for growth. And like that kind of starts to reduce fear because you're trying so many other things, like this podcast, for example, right? If you have all these other things going on, it kind of feeds maybe the day-to-day monotony or gets you to do other things. So I think that's an interesting way of looking at, maybe you give this speech 150 times, but you're always looking for new things. Like what do you do you're obviously coming up with new topics all the time, Jay. What do you do for inspiration? Where do you find that? Or are there certain things that you just, is it going to the lake? Is it
it's
the questionnaires that you get in?
I don't do it intentionally. I really try to not force it. And I've changed that over the last decade or so, where I used to say, I should probably start working on a new book or whatever, or a new speech. And when I started to do that, I realized, if you're trying to make it happen, maybe it's not worth happening, right? And so now I just try and keep my antenna up, right? And I read a ton and I listen a ton, and I'm lucky that I've got 2 podcasts, so I get to talk to a lot of really smart people every week, in addition to my team and our clients. And I just try to see what's out there. And when I notice a pattern, then I'll start picking at it, right? So the one that I've only done a couple of times, which allegedly is the new talk, is called Coveted Customer Experience. And the idea is that customer experience is so hot right now, right? Everybody's talking about CX and everybody cares about CX and we're investing in CX. But the problem is 71% of customer experience initiatives fail to produce ROI.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, right? If we all know customer experience is important and we're putting a bunch of money into it, we're hiring chief customer experience officers and all this other shit, how come it doesn't work? And so I did a bunch of research on it and talked to a bunch of clients, and my conclusion is that the problem is that customer experience, and I'm throwing up my air quotes now for listeners, doesn't actually exist, right? It's a nickname that we use as a conversational shorthand to describe what is actually dozens or hundreds of different potential customer intersection points, right? So is your website fast enough? That's customer experience, right? What does your email subject line say? That's customer experience. What is the shipping speed of your package? That's it's all customer experience. And so the problem is when you try to execute on a holistic customer experience initiative, it doesn't work because it's too big. And so the premise is that you need to think small and focus only on the things that really, 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 really matter to customers. And in our research, that is, you have to be quick, you have to be clear, and you have to be kind. If you can be 15% more quick, 15% more clear, 15% more kind, that will create massive returns in the success of your business at the CX level. But in order for that to work, you got to break it down, right? So it's like, if you get one of those like 8-foot subs from like Subway or whatever for a party, right? Like the giant sandwich, and they bring on a 2x4. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You could not eat that if they didn't cut it, right? Like you couldn't Lady and the Tramp that, one person on each side. Like it's
a challenge.
It's impossible. It's an impossible. Well, no, it's not a challenge. It's an impossible sandwich. But they cut it into 4-inch slices, which is what makes it digestible. And you got to think about customer experience the same way. So that kind of premise and framework is what I have been working on for this year. And how did I get there? It's like, well, we do a lot of customer experience work. I go to a lot of conferences, and I kept seeing like it's failing. Like, well, how could it fail? And I had to find the solution, and so there you go.
I love this: quick, clear, and kind. By the way, I think that
thanks.
works. Just for lack of what a surprise, brand guy coming up with brand in real time, but like on the EX side, like on an employee side, that quick, clear, and kind works for employees too, right? Like,
absolutely,
especially now. I mean, to me, like what I've learned is like a lot of our stories, assuming they get operationalized, which is I'm thinking about when you talk triggers to me is really about operationalizing word of mouth. So like
for sure,
operationalizing ideas, stories, so you don't have an attrition problem is another place where I'm fascinated with how word of mouth could work really on the inside.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder, like, I mean, you're clearly multifaceted person. Like, where do you, like, do you see yourself as a researcher first, as a keynote amplifier? Like, where, if you had to go, what are you at the core that you love the most?
It's funny you asked that, because people ask me, I'm just like on a plane or whatever, back when that used to happen, and somebody sit down next to you and be like, hey, what do you do? It's like, well, it's not as an easy an answer as the question would you believe to be. So it depends on who I'm talking to, right? So I guess I would typically say, or I used to say that I am a speaker, but I think it's easier to tell people who aren't in business that you're a writer, because then they say, what do you write about? So I write about this, and they get speeches about it, et cetera, et cetera. So, but in reality, what I really am is a consultant, because that's how I spend, at least half my time, and significantly more than half now, for the first time in a while, is working with clients to solve complex business problems. So, and I was a consultant a long time before I was a speaker and an author, and I think I'll be a consultant a long time after. And one of the reasons I'm successful as a speaker is that I really think of it as real-time consulting. Right? I think of what I do on stage as consulting with a microphone, with obviously an entertainment layer. That's kind of how I approach it, which is different than other people, of course.
Yeah, you're a great strategist. And so strategy is fantastic. How do you actually get businesses and organizations to execute the strategy? Because that's like the biggest challenge, right? You can have something that's fantastic on paper. How do you socialize it, operationalize it, get people excited about it? Like, what have you seen be successful? And especially if you guys are, second, third party, so you're a bit removed from many of the companies. Yeah. I mean, you have to have strong leaders you work with, first of all, but,
it's an ongoing challenge. I mean, candidly, it's an ongoing challenge. And it's one of the frustrations that I have as a strategist, is that, you write the recipe, but you can't force somebody to cook the meal. And so what we're trying to do as an organization is deliver counsel that is easier to follow and more portable, and almost like, can you develop a content marketing strategy that can be communicated via word of mouth, right? That somebody doesn't have to look at the deck, right? Can it be that portable that somebody inside the organization can tell somebody else what it is? Because if they can tell somebody else what it is easily, then the chance of everybody getting on board goes up, right? So Chris Brogan once said in his great book, Trust Agents, give your ideas handles. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, but it's hard because we do really comprehensive work. So we're definitely not there yet. It's a constant struggle for me. Second thing is, we are structuring more and more of our relationships to not only deliver a strategy, but then sort of ride shotgun into the future to have weekly calls and say, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? How can we help you? Almost like a personal trainer for digital marketing, if you will. Yeah. That's good. And the third thing is, despite my long time admonition that we would not do this, we're actually starting to make more stuff for clients. We don't want to end up being a tactical agency. I don't think there's any margin there. And as Berman knows, it's a tough row to hoe, but we have the skills, and we produce so many podcasts, and we do so many research reports and ebooks and webinars that when clients need that kind of stuff, it's not hard for us to do it. So we're like, yeah, okay, right? If you need us to produce your podcast, we will. If you need us to produce your webinar series, and that's the only way it's going to get done, we will. So we're starting to actually execute a little bit more for clients. I'm cautious about overburdening our team or having to change our staffing model in order to execute on that at scale. But I have yielded on my long-standing prohibition of tactical work.
And might I add, it's a great team that you do have. I mean, I get to see Lauren on the road. Well, when we used to do those on the roads live talks, and she's what I love about them is everybody is approachable. They always come with a nugget or two. You can, they're just trying to point your business forward. So you've done a wonderful, wonderful.
I'm really only good at two things, which is seeing patterns and translating them, and judging talent. That's literally the only two things I'm good at. Everything else is like just gravy and sort of related somehow. But I've hired a lot of people in my career across lots of different companies, and I've really only made 2 or 3 mistakes out of hundreds of hires. So I've got a good nose for potential, and I don't know how or why, I just do. And that has served me really, really well. And I would not trade our team for anybody. I really wouldn't.
Well, and you happen to also be in the Hall of Fame as a speaker, so I think you're really good at a few things, not just 2.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good speakers, right? I mean, I'm psyched to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a huge honor. I'm in the Word of Mouth Hall of Fame too, and nobody ever talks about it. Huh.
Oh boy,
little word of mouth joke there for you.
We need a little drum.
Yeah. Where's Zoom sound effects button? What's going on here? No, thank you. That's nice of you to say. But I always feel like one of these days I'm just going to say I'm out and I'm going to start a Arby's franchise or something, right? Just like bail on all of this and go do something totally different.
Well, is there something, I mean, again, we're coming to a close here, but is there something in your mind that you're like, maybe I'm afraid to do this, or I want to get to this that's completely different?
Dude, we could do a whole show just on that. I have, number one, I do a lot of startup work, right? So I'm an angel investor in a lot of startups, and I'm an advisor. So there's literally dozens of companies that I have a tiny piece of, and that kind of scratches the itch. And so I use that as almost like fear medicine, right? Like, okay, I'm scared to go start something new right now because I got too many irons in the fire and people are relying on me and all that. And so I can kind of get at that and nibble at that by being loosely involved with a lot of other people who are doing that. But I do feel like someday I'm just gonna pack it in and I want to start something that I just have that has nothing to do with business and I'm just really passionate about, like a tequila bar or a barbecue restaurant or plaid suit matching app. I don't know, something.
I guess when you're a seventh generation entrepreneur, it's in you. And by the way, where can people find you? Just if they want to email you or find more information about you.
2 places. The best place is convinceandconvert.com, which is our main website. Thousands of articles, podcasts, webinars, ebooks for business owners, marketers, courageous people. Convinceandconvert.com. And my personal site for speaking, books, those kind of things is jbaer.com.
Jay, thanks so much for coming on the show. I mean what I'm about to say is let's do something together. I mean, I don't care if it's who knows if it's you want us to create content for you or for one of your clients, or I don't know, who knows what it is. Let's figure it out.
Nothing else, we should drink some beers one of these days.
Once you open the tequila bar, I will be the first one there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to do it in San Diego. That's the place to do it.
There you go. Thanks, Jay.
See you guys.
Thanks, Jay.
If you enjoyed the episode, please give us 5 stars, subscribe, and leave us a comment.